welcome to episode 3 of Pixel Perfect Gaming. I'm Chris.
And I'm Pat. And I forgot if I should say something after that. I'm sorry.
And that is our intro to this episode. Oh, gosh. So we've got quite a few topics to go over. We're going to step away a little bit from technology and gaming to start out with. Pat, we wanted to talk a little bit about the cat situation for you.
Yeah, in our first episode, we said we're two guys who like to talk about games and their cats, and we haven't really talked about our cats yet. So our new boy, Ekko, has recently been going through some medical issues here. We'll get the sad stuff out of the way here at the beginning.
Yeah.
First off, he is diagnosed with stomatitis. And for those that don't know what stomatitis is, it's in simplest terms, he's allergic to the plaque in his mouth. And it feels like he constantly has poison ivy on his gums, is how the vet described it to us. And the only cure for it, there's no end all be all cure, but the best way to make it easier on him is to have all of his teeth pulled, which is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, certainly.
If it makes his life easier, then it's worth it. But I mean, you told me that you had a cat that had all their teeth pulled before, and I've done a lot of research on it, and cats can live totally fine lives without their teeth. They can still eat their hard kibble food as long as it's not big bites of it. If it's in little bits, they just swallow it whole. Even if they had their teeth, they probably wouldn't chew it anyway if that was that size.
Yeah, that's what I was told when it happened to the cat I was fostering, is that cats pretty much tend to swallow their food whole anyway, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference in their life. It's still kind of sad though, honestly. Now, is it a genetic issue, or is it just something that happens, or?
It is just something that happens. It's a pretty low percentage of cats that get it, but if not caught early enough and not treated soon enough, it can be fatal for the cats. It's not necessarily the disease itself can kill the cat. It is more so that eating, drinking, swallowing becomes such a pain for them that they just don't.
They don't do it, so they basically starve themselves to death, or they just dehydrate till they die because it hurts so bad, is what you're saying.
Spot on.
Wow.
We've been told to get a second opinion on it because whenever we talked to the shelter that we got him from, they were appalled that we had said that. They were going on about how rare it is in cats at his age. He's under a year old, and they're asking me all these questions. Does his breath smell? Does he get uncomfortable if you get near his face? Does he have troubles eating? All these questions, which I answer no to all of them. He has no problem eating. He doesn't toss food in his mouth when he plays. He has no problem chewing on toys. I don't really get too up close and personal with his breath, but whenever I was asked, I had to at that point. And it's cat breath. I'm not super grossed out by the ways, but I don't want it to be my air freshener by any means, but
right.
It's not like it smells terrible.
Well, in my experience, when it's a breath issue too, it's very noticeable for cats. I mean, their breath is usually not great anyway, but in this case, it's very much like, whoa, that's different than I feel like it should be.
Yeah, that's not quite right. But the stomatitis, sadly, is looking a little more likely that is what it is, because his brother, that came from the same litter as him, initially tested negative for the FIV virus, which I guess is a little redundant, V for virus and then virus again, but that's the feline immunodeficiency virus. And he then later went to a different vet after he was adopted and was tested again and came up positive. So now we have to get our little boy tested for that.
Right, which hopefully, fingers crossed, that you don't have that on top of it. Now, as far as the stomatitis, did you just find out because you took him to the vet as a checkup and they just looked at his gums and thought that may be the case?
Yeah, so it was we got him. He still needed one more distemperament shot. They were like, oh, if you want to wait to get him, we'll give it to him. Otherwise, you have to take him in 2 weeks or something. And we were like, nah, we'll just take him whenever it's time. So we took him for the distemperament shot and kind of a checkup, to get some of his records and everything into the vet. And whenever they checked out his gums, the vet did say it looked like he might be developing it. So he gave us some antibiotics. Clindamycin is what he was on. We had to give him that daily for 2 weeks. and he was fantastic at taking pills. I've never had a cat be so chill about taking pills. It was amazing. But whenever we took him back in for his follow-up, it was noticeably worse. So whenever we went the first time, the vet like pulled up his lips and is showing me his gums, and I'm like, those just look like gums to me. I don't see what you're talking about here.
Right.
So I was very skeptical. But the second visit, whenever he pulled them open, they're like blood red. It looks uncomfortable, but at the same time, there comes the thing where the vet's pulling him up, and he's not trying to pull away. He doesn't look like he's wincing in pain. The vet's poking his gums. He doesn't react in any way. So I don't know. I'm just like really torn on it. You know what I mean?
Which that part's challenging for cats specifically anyways. They have a habit of not really displaying pain very well, so it makes it very difficult to diagnose just about anything that's painful for cats, specifically for reasons like that.
Yeah.
They're notoriously good at going about their life in pain and not showing any kind of effect.
That is for sure. So Wednesday, I am driving down to Connecticut, actually, to take him to the shelter to get another opinion on stomatitis and to get him tested for the FIV.
Is that the same shelter you got him at?
Yes. Yeah, they have a vet that comes in every Wednesday to do their rounds, and vets up here wouldn't get him in until next Friday. And if I take him down there, they'll do it that day, do it all for free. It'll cost me $30 in gas. Where if I took him somewhere here, it would cost me $70 for the FIV test anyways, so.
Right, and who knows, in case they look for something else or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, fingers crossed. It definitely wasn't good news when you shared that yesterday, so.
Yeah, it was a big bummer, but, we we'll take it in stride and we'll give him the best life that we can,
Yeah, definitely. Well, and the other thing to kind of bring up too is FIV is primarily, what's the word I'm looking for?
Transferred?
Yes. So primarily transferred with bites, deep bites, because we had somebody ask both of us yesterday, is it a big issue? Because you mentioned that Schmidt could potentially have FIV, but it's pretty unlikely unless the cat, really bites Schmidt pretty hard. So
yeah, it's really only transferable through, birth if the mother cat has it, and through the deep bites, like you said. But that bite has to be like, I'm trying to hurt you kind of bite, not a play.
Or if it was an open wound that got saliva in it or something like that. But,
Yeah, that's a lot less likely. I'm not too concerned about that. It's just, whenever they start playing now, we keep an eye on them. And if things start to maybe escalate a little bit, I break it up.
Yeah, understandable. So, yeah, you'll have to keep us in the loop as far as what happens.
Well, we'll know by next episode.
That we will. So, figured we would get that out of the way first. A little bit of a downer, but, we do like cats, so we figured we would talk about that. The other big topic that we have is CES, which I think is over now, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Is CES over? I don't recall. I've been paying attention to it all week. Did you watch anything for it for this week?
Some, very little. Did most of it through just reading articles of things that were announced.
Yeah, sounds about right. And so we'll talk a little bit about the Sony announcement, because that's what we talked about a lot last episode, was the anticipate. Oh my Lord.
One more time.
Oh God. Anticipation of Sony's announcement on Monday. Honestly, I watched it and it was nothing. Like basically nothing was announced. They talked a little bit about some TVs. Pharrell came out on stage and yammered about something for like 20 minutes, and then that was the end of it. It was very disappointing.
It sounds pretty amazing. Pharrell, he's a cool guy, right? Like.
Yeah, but not really what you want from a consumer electronic show. Like it's not really what anybody wanted. So yeah, Sony. Yeah, it was bust. We had nothing from that. NVIDIA announced the RTX 2060, which was really not surprising. And then there's a rumored GTX 1160, which is pretty much the same as the 2060, but without the real-time ray tracing features to it.
Now, to my understanding, the 1160 is kind of their attempt to really hit the mid-game card market a lot more. I mean, like, I guess, in my opinion, that was more of an AMD thing. AMD really rocked the mid-level, in my opinion. Good cards, fair prices, and to my understanding, from what I've read and things, this is kind of their, let's take that part of the market too.
I don't know about that necessarily. So the 2060 is geared towards the the 1070. It's more of a 1070 replacement, and it has real-time ray tracing with it. However, if you've looked at the real-time ray tracing stuff, you know the moment you turn it on, your frame rates drop in half immediately. I mean, you're playing at 60, now you're playing at 30. So that's just the way it is. So it's not, for a lot of people, it's not realistic, especially if you're gaming at 4K resolution or something. Even if you have a 2080 Ti, 4K resolution with the ray tracing turned on is just not feasible at this time. So it's very new, obviously, in the tech, but it just feels kind of like a novelty thing to me. So I think the 1160 is more of a, hey, it's the same performance roughly as the 2060, I believe, but it doesn't have the real-time ray tracing. So I think it'll probably end up being a little bit more popular if they do decide to go that route.
So check your sources, Pat, is what you're saying here.
Yeah, I mean, it's rumored I didn't look too much into it, but it's definitely rumored. I do agree that the AMD kind of controlled the cheaper mid to low, graphics card market. However, they announced something that was pretty cool over the CES time period. Did you see that?
No, hit me with it. Give me the knowledge.
So they announced the Radeon 7 GPU, which is actually the very first 7 nanometer GPU ever on the market. It's 16 gigs. It was made to kind of compete with the 2080, so it's a pretty top tier card. So the 2080 runs 8 gigs of RAM. This card has 16 gigs of RAM. The 2080 has 450 gigabytes roughly of bandwidth, but the Radeon 7 has a 1 terabyte of bandwidth. So it looks really cool. It runs 4K, 60 frames per second for most games that were showed on the benchmark. So it looks really cool.
Those are some pretty crazy specs.
Yeah, and it's supposed to launch next month, actually. Like, they're ready for it. It's going to launch at $699, I believe, so right there with the 2080 pricing. It's not going to have real-time ray tracing, but then again, I don't know too many really hardcore people that are buying these cards and actually doing the real-time ray tracing because it's, like I said, it's not realistic if you really want the high frame rates.
I just hope it births more memes. The RTX memes were great, in my opinion.
The RTX on, RTX off.
Yeah, some of them were so good. I just want them back.
So I'm really excited about the AMD launch because it's one of the first cards. Like, it was supposed to be Vega 64, I believe, last year. That everyone thought was going to really push NVIDIA and make them competitive again in the GPU market. But I think this Radeon 7 is actually going to be what does it. And so I think AMD is going to be a serious player now, which I'm really excited for because we saw this kind of thing when AMD released Ryzen. All of a sudden, Intel's like, oh crap, we actually have to innovate. We actually have to do stuff. We can't just pump out the same chip every year now because AMD is doing stuff.
Yeah, it'll definitely, hopefully, definitely force hands for more competition and better development. That's for sure. The 16 gigs on it, that's a lot. It's crazy.
It's an insane amount of RAM, and I think it's going to be one of those GPUs that will game really well, and I would imagine do productivity really well for people that are both doing those, like graphics design and video editing and things of that nature.
Rendering for sure.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Is that enough RAM for Chrome?
Is that no? The 16 gigs definitely not. But then again, Chrome isn't using GPU RAM to my knowledge.
I know. I have a major issue on my computer when you talk.
I thought you were going to ask me, but I thought you were just going to ask me, but can it run Crysis? Like, that's what I thought you were going to say.
I should have.
That's what I expected. Yeah, we can. Let's go back. It can. I would hope it can run Crysis. So, yeah, I thought that was one of the more interesting things that got announced. A couple other things that got announced at CES. This is not necessarily game oriented, but just kind of tech oriented. 8K TVs were announced. I don't think anyone was really surprised by that. I certainly wasn't, although I don't know why anyone would want an 8K TV unless you really feel like you need to be on the bleeding edge of technology, because it's not like you're going to get 8K content from anywhere right now.
That's just, it's too real. It's too real life, man. There's moments where sometimes I'll be watching a movie on a 4K TV, and there's points where like everything's just so crisp and looks so good. I'm like, like this, it feels weird to my eyes at points, Like 8K is just gonna, I don't know, it's gonna blow my mind.
Yeah, and I would say to that point, there also is the true motion and things like that on those 4K TVs, which Liz, my girlfriend, absolutely hates. So we have to turn that off when we watch my TV because it makes her feel nauseous. It's a weird kind of tech that they roll over top of it. We were actually watching Sex Education on Netflix this morning out in the living room. and she was like, "Oh, that thing is on," and I'm like, "Really?" I can't tell the difference at all. And I turned it off, and I was like, "I don't even notice." And she's like, "I do. I feel so much better." And I'm like, I don't even see it.
Really? So maybe that's what. Maybe I'm also bothered by that a little bit then on TVs.
It's possible that yeah, the true motion might be a bit of a bother for you.
Now, what is it that does? Does it just kind of like help reduce motion blur?
Oh, you would ask me something like that. Now I have to look.
A, you know me, man, putting you on the spot.
So it uses, let's see here. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to need to Google this. It's supposed to reduce blur and yields for crisper details, detail blacklight scanning, and enhance frame rates.
Mm.
So it's on my LG TV. I notice it for some things, or at least I noticed it when I first bought the TV, but I just got used to it and it didn't bother me. It's also called the soap opera effect. So that should tell you something right there.
Oh, that's like that's spot on. For yeah, so I'm definitely bothered by the same thing then, because if I was asked to describe like what about it is it bothers me, I would say like everything feels kind of soap opera-y in ways.
Yeah, it's a motion interpolation to smooth out fast-moving action presented at lower frame rates.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
maybe that's what it is. I don't know if you have a 4K TV, but if you do and you hate it, maybe that's what it
No,
is.
that's gross. I don't like it. Cool. 8K TVs. Not in my near future.
Yeah, I think it's nonsense. No, well, okay, I would say not in my near future either, but then I think I probably said the same thing about
Yeah,
4K
you said the
TVs.
same thing about that 28 Ti you're rocking there.
Yeah, I did, didn't
Uh-huh.
I? You know what's really frustrating? I went through something pretty painful today. So over the past couple podcasts, I use my laptop, my Huawei MateBook for work, and so that sits on my desk, and then my computer's hooked up to my TV in the living room, and the audio doesn't sound very good on the laptop. It sounds really good on the main computer, but the problem is I have to sit in the living room on my TV, every time we record these episodes.
Mm. Liz probably isn't a very big fan of that.
I'm not a very big fan of that. It drives me crazy. So I decided today, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to move the computer back to where my other monitors are on my desk and use that for work and, just connect it to my other two laptops and, have a great time. But it kind of killed me a little bit inside because both of my monitors on my desk are 1080p. And I specifically built this computer to play at 4K. And I feel like I'm doing, I don't know, it feels a little gross to me.
Your nice curved foldable monitors, huh?
Well, I'm sitting here like, yeah, it's nice. It was worth the $1,300 for this video card to play 200 frames per second on 1080p, wasn't it?
Hey man, it's still cool.
I mean, maybe I have Newegg up on another monitor and I'm shopping for 2 and 4K monitors. Maybe
Make it 3, send one this way.
make it 3.
My rig could not run 4K. I would switch to 4K and it would just explode.
You could have my lovely curved ones.
Just roll them right up, man. I want
I
to
know.
make a circle with them. I want 6 of them. Make a big old circle, and I want to sit in the middle. I want to spin around.
I remember when I told you I was going to buy these monitors, and you were like, "Don't do it. I'm going to roll them up when you buy them." And you saw them, and you're like, "Oh, you did it. You bought those curved
Because you knew you
monitors."
couldn't buy them with me. Because I would just shame you the whole time.
We were at Best Buy looking at them, and you were giving me a hard time about them, and I was like, "We need to leave. I'm going to do this a different day."
Oh, geez. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Did not go well. So yes, 8K TVs. I don't know if you saw the roll-up TV, the roll-up 4K TV.
Yeah, like it like down into its base.
Yes, and the base is a big speaker, so it's got its own speaker system and sub and all that
I mean, it's
stuff
pretty cool.
built into it. It was really cool. I was really excited. There's no way I'm going to be able to buy that thing, but I like the technology. I thought it was pretty neat.
I mean, in all honesty, like if I had the money, would I buy it? I don't think I would. And I can't really give reasoning on that. I just really don't think that I would. Like I feel like the idea of it is very cool. It and, it might work really well, and that's great. But for some reason, I just feel like I wouldn't. Now, if someone was like, "Hey, do you want this for free?" I'm not gonna say no. But like if
Right.
I had that kind of disposable income, would I? I don't think I would.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever buy it myself. Either. I like the idea of it, and I think it's pretty cool. It would definitely be a statement piece. Like I feel like I would design my entire living room around that TV that comes up out of the small
Oh, I'd be
box.
calling people over just to be like, "Hey, you want to come over?"
Hey, you wanna watch this? Come on over, watch this, and I roll it up. And I'm like, all right, get out.
We're done here.
You've seen everything you need to see. Get
I'm
out
not
of my
even going to
house.
turn it on for you.
Yeah, I mean, well, part of it for me too is I would maybe be a little bit more into it if I was upgrading from a 1080p TV to 4K OLED for the first time. But since I already have a 4K OLED, I'll probably just keep that
Now,
honestly.
does the I'm going to call it rollability? Does the rollability of it like affect the longevity?
From what I heard, no. I think it can unroll, like roll up and unroll about 50,000 times, is
Oh,
what I
I'm
had
gonna go
read.
through half of that in like the first week.
Yeah, I think they probably plan for that. They plan that the first week you're gonna do 20,000 rolls, and then after that you're
It's
gonna be
probably gonna
set.
be up most of the time from then on out.
It's got some neat features when because you can roll it halfway
Mhm.
down just to show weather or play music and stuff like that. So it's got some integrated features in case it's halfway down or all the way down,
So
that
you
kind of
can.
stuff. So
So
it was pretty cool.
if I was, if I had like my Xbox or something hooked up to it or something, I'm playing like Pandora, I could still roll it all the way down and keep the music playing.
Yeah, so you could roll it up a little bit, turn on the music, pick what you want, and then roll it back down, and
Oh,
it
that's
just
pretty
plays.
cool. I'm also worried that someone would like put a cup over top of it, and I'm just gonna unroll
Ah,
it and knock that cup over.
yeah, or like horizontal storage for something, and you forget about it, and then you break the TV when you
Yeah,
accidentally hit the button.
exactly.
I could see you like putting something on it momentarily, like, oh, just put this here, it'll be fine. And then like Echo or Schmidt or something like steps on the remote and it starts to try and come up and it just breaks the mechanism. And you're like, oh, that's not going to be cheap to replace.
I'm hand rolling it from then on out. Think I'm paying to replace that.
You're going to put a crank on the
Yeah.
side of it. You're cranking it up
I
every
want a
time.
loud crank too, so it clicks at like every single turn. Just
Come over. I'm like, you want to watch League on the TV? And you're like, yeah, let me just roll the TV out, click, 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 click.
uh, yes, that's what I want now. Now I have to invest in one just to break it.
Oh, just to break it. That's gonna be a painful Snapchat video.
Ah, worth it.
Let's see how much weight it can actually move when it's coming out of the frame at
There's
the
gonna be
bottom.
some YouTube out there, some YouTube channel out there somewhere that's gonna just be
They're gonna
putting
get it for
plates
free
on
though.
there.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be Jerry Rig. I don't know if you watch his YouTube stuff, but he kind of does durability tests for phones and things like that, and he scrapes them with razor
Mhm.
blades, and it is so painful to listen to, but it's also kind of
He's the
satisfying.
guy. And now I think I have watched him before. He also has I don't know how to describe them. They're not like screwdrivers. They look like screwdrivers, but they come to a point and they have different hardness ratings. And he'll scratch the
Yeah, he
screen with them.
uses the hardness die, like the hardness. I don't know what you call them, but yeah, he scratches the screen with them and stuff.
That's pretty cool stuff. He's a cool guy. I like him.
Yeah, I watch some of his stuff, especially if it's iPhones. Anything iPhone related that he's going to break and talk trash about, I'm all
Hey,
about
easy, champ.
it. You know how I
I
feel.
know how
You know
you
how I
feel.
feel.
I know. I don't want to talk about it. Jeez.
Okay, that's fair. So then let's see. We've got a folding phone that was showcased at CES. I don't really
I
know
hate it.
anything about it. I saw it and it looked terrible.
I hate it. I just
It looked so bulky and kind of gross, and I was like, I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
where it bends in the middle. Maybe it was just because I don't know they plan on sprucing it up later or something. But on the sides where it folds, it was just like this weird rubber that whenever you folded it, like bunched up. It looked like a hair scrunchie, and I was not into it. I don't even know when I
Yeah,
would use it. When am I going to fold it up, put it in my pocket, and it's like, oh, you can fold it, and like one half of the screen can be off, and the other half can be on. And it's like, what? Then just have a normal phone.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know what the appeal of it is, honestly. Currently, maybe there will be some functionality for it that'll blow my mind, but as it stands currently, I mean, I guess if you want a tablet by just unfolding it and it kind of makes a tablet like a bigger phone, I don't know. I really don't get it. It seems very awkward to me,
And it
though.
looks like it'd be really thick whenever it's folded over too.
I just think about putting that in my pocket and sitting down and like breaking all the screens at one time. I'm like, damn
Ugh.
it.
I just cringed a little bit, man.
Imagine what the D brand skins and stuff are going to look like for that, or the invisible shields that you put on it.
Mm.
Foldable invisible
It's gonna
shields.
come in 3 pieces.
Oh, I don't like that. That sounds terrible. It's bad enough putting one of those things. I would imagine having to put 3 onto one
When I
device.
worked for Verizon, I had to put so many of those things on every day. It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't like those things. I actually just put one on Liz's phone this week, and it was it's so fun. The dust and stuff and the air gap, and it's like, oh, this is a good time. I can't wait to do
I
this.
mean, if we're being honest here, a little bit of me has fun when I'm using the sticker to get all the little bits of dust off there that like didn't wipe off. And you're just going around with the sticker, and you're like, and you're getting all of it. I don't know what it is, but that's satisfying for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was slapping it on the phone, but then Houdini jumped up on the bed, and so I just kind of went after her with it. So, in actuality, I spent like 10 minutes chasing the cat through the house with the little piece of sticker, like, attaching it to her and watching her freak out.
The point here is you pay more money than you should for one of those things just for the sticker. That's all you need.
Just for the sticker. Yeah. Well, and of course, if you buy it from, a retailer like Verizon or Best Buy, then you're definitely paying a pretty premium for that.
Yeah, we sold them for like $50 a pop.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Where on Amazon, it's like you get 2 for $20.
Yeah, exactly. Go to the Dollar Tree. It's like the same exact thing. $3.
They have them at the Dollar Tree?
Probably. They have everything there.
Although I think when I go to the Walmart grocery, which is basically a Walmart with just groceries and nothing else there, they have Invisible Shield stuff in the checkout line.
See?
They even have mice and all kinds of weird things in the checkout line too.
Interesting.
So, okay, back to the we're getting sidetracked here. Last thing I had from CES that kind of stood out to me was the new Razer monitor. Did you see that?
I saw it whenever you listed our topics, and then I Googled it.
What did you think about it?
I think if I'm looking at the right thing, I think it looks cool. I think like all the colors and stuff to show on it look awesome. I don't know how I feel about like the RGB base. I mean, I'm not saying it's stupid. All RGB is unnecessary. It's not like it actually adds anything to anything, but like I don't know. My keyboard.
You're gonna
sits
offend
close.
some people.
Look, I got it. I got it in my case, my keyboard. But like my keyboard sits so close to my monitor, anyways, that it would block it. So I guess for me, I'm like, I don't care about that part. But I don't know about you.
I don't mind the RGB part of it. I don't mind the cable management part in the back. I think it's kind of cool, even though, I don't know. I guess I don't mind that part. I like the bezels on the monitor. I mean, minus the bottom, but I think they might have speakers on the bottom, but the rest of it looks pretty good. I think it's 27-inch gaming monitor, I believe. Built-in cable management, HDR support. I think one of it's 2.3 millimeter bezels. That's pretty tiny, so that's pretty cool. And it's a 2K monitor too, so not 1080p. It's 1440. Has FreeSync, 144 hertz, 1 millisecond motion blur reduction. Really, yeah. I think the biggest thing that I don't like, it's not VESA compatible. So if you have wall-mounted monitors, you can't wall-mount this sucker.
Oh yeah, that's a bummer. Well, they want you using that RGB base.
Yep. Why you're going to pay a premium for it. So I assume most people that get it, they are going to. I feel like it's a good monitor, but I wouldn't. I like having multiple monitors,
Yeah.
and I feel like this is just a good standalone.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would like to have 2 of these.
I agree. Like maybe one of these and then something else with a little more low profile base to it off to the side.
Yeah. I mean, also, I believe it is going to be a $700 monitor, which that by itself is kind of off-putting to me. Yeah, $699 MSRP. I mean, it's a Razer product,
That's
so
true.
I can't say that I'm terribly surprised.
Slap that logo on there, charge a pretty penny.
Yeah, they've done it. They're basically the Apple of gaming products at this point.
I
feel
knew
like
you were going to say it. Just had to go there.
What? They've
true.
made that market for themselves. They have gaming products that they put heavy price tags on, and they're kind of. I mean, you can get similar or better products from other companies, but they don't have Razer logos on them.
Well, because it's not a true gaming component if it's not Razer.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I've used some Razer components in the past, and it's okay.
Are you still using that Razer mouse you bought with me?
So I have it. Yes. I'm not using it though. I actually loaned out my laptop to somebody, and I let him take that mouse with him, so I don't have it. So right now I'm using a MX Master S2.
MX Master S2.
I was gonna say, are you gonna Google it and see what that is?
Yes, I am. Ooh, that's quite the thumb rest on there.
It's a button too.
That whole
So
thumb
it's
rest has a
it's
button?
actually a whole yeah. It's a button. It's a gesture pad, so you can macro it to do certain things. Yep.
Ah, like that's cool, but I feel like I would be playing League and have something bound to that and get into a panic situation and just squeeze the shit out of it.
Maybe. I mean, you have to push down to do it, and it takes a little bit of pressure, so it's not particularly easy to do. But I don't know. I don't really play with the mouse. I don't really game with this mouse. I just use it for work mostly.
Well, see, I play with my hand in a fist, and I just
So you're very serious, and you're just
yeah, I just pound down for every key click.
especially with League when you're feeding on bottom, and then you're like ah.
Winning on bottom. Moving on.
But no, okay. What were we talking? We were talking about Razer. I mean, I've used some of their controllers before. They used to have Xbox controllers,
Mhm.
and I think they have new ones now. But the ones I think I used the saber tooth ones. This was a couple years ago, and both the ones I bought from them broke. The buttons didn't work correctly, and it's a big price to pay for that kind of thing to happen. So I just stopped buying them.
It ain't no Mad Cats.
I mean, yeah, isn't Mad Cats? I mean, I kind of view Mad Cats as a budget brand.
No, the Mad Cats was totally. You go over to your friend's house and they're like, "This is your controller," and they hand you the Mad Cats controller that has 12 extra buttons on it, and one of them's like turbo button, and you don't know it, and you hit that, and you can't stop what your character's doing. That's the Mad Cats controller.
I see. That sounds okay. Because when I think of Mad Cats, I think of either budget controllers or fight sticks. They make a lot of fight sticks, and their fight sticks are good. I like those.
I think of clear PlayStation controllers where you can see like the circuit board and everything in there and see little bits of plastic shaking around in there from the amount of times that it's been thrown.
Oh my gosh, it's been thrown. I like that. So I've got Razer. I think Razer mice are the only thing I've ever really bought and use mostly. I don't. I've never used a Razer keyboard. I've thought about buying one before, but I've never bought one.
I have a Razer keyboard. I like it.
Do you have a Black Widow?
Yes, the Black Widow Chroma. I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Britt got it for me for my birthday a couple years ago. It's held up really well. Occasionally a key sticks, but it's super rare. And honestly, if it sticks, it's probably because I just need to clean it a little bit. Everything's held up really well, and I use it every damn day. So I really cannot complain about my keyboard.
Yeah, my first mechanical keyboard was a DOS keyboard. So every time I've needed a new keyboard since then, I've just went back to them. I've never bought anything else other than them. I don't even think they have a Chroma edition to my knowledge. I know they have a smart keyboard that just came out, but I'm not paying $200 for that thing.
I don't know what it is, man. I love keyboards. I'll drop a pretty penny on a keyboard.
Oh yeah, I mean DOS keyboards they're not cheap by any means. I think $120 to $150 give or take. I think the one I'm using right now was $180.
I've looked at. You ever look at the Duckies?
I've heard good things about the Duckies. I've never used one though.
Yeah, my friend Alex has had one of those two, and it was cool. I mean, the one he had, its mechanical switches were quieter. I like the click, like that audible click to them.
Yeah. Very tactile, clicky, loud.
Yeah, his didn't do that, but it still felt nice. And it was RGB, and it had a lot of cool functionalities with that as well. Whenever I eventually need a new one, that'll be a consideration for me.
Yeah, I use MX Cherry Blues on my other keyboard, which I really like. This keyboard is MX Cherry Browns because I use it for work, so it's still clicky, but it's not as annoying for people when I'm talking on the phone. So they're not, they don't think I'm beating the keyboard to death. Because most people don't understand mechanical keyboards that I work with. They just think it's nonsense.
Yeah, that's how Britt was. Whenever she first bought it for me, she thought the clicking was cool. She was like, "Oh, like that's cool. Now you can hear it." And then at college, I had my laptop and everything set up next to the bed, and she'd be trying to sleep at night, and I'm just over there, click, 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 click. She's like, "Oh my god, I hate it."
Why is this a thing? This is stupid. Yeah. I actually been looking into getting my own PCB and making my own mechanical keyboard, non-soldering, because I don't want to deal with having to buy a soldering iron and dealing with all that kind of stuff. But you can actually build your own mechanical keyboard without having to solder it all.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is it's really expensive.
It is really.
When you total everything out, like total everything up with the case and the PCB and the keys and all that kind of stuff and the caps. I mean, it ends up being like $300.
Yeah, it can definitely get super expensive. Like there's a subreddit called Our Mechanical Keyboards, and like it's a hobby to those people collecting and building the keyboards. And I go on there from time to time just to check them out because some of them are pretty damn cool.
Yeah. I mean, I shop on Massdrop from time to time, so I see mechanical keyboards like fancy keys and PCBs and cases and stuff like that on there all the time, and
Hmm.
it gets me really excited. And I think about it, but then I'm like, I don't really want to shell out this kind of money
Yeah, some of those artisan keys, you buy like one key, and
for $50.
and if you keep it until they stop producing it, it like triples in price for one key.
Really? Maybe that's why people keep buying them because they have some weird ones on Massdrop, and it shows the sales. And I'm always like, why do people buy these keys? I don't understand what they're using them for.
Yeah. Now you know. People collect them.
That's good to know. Well, the more you know. All right, so on to our next topic, Bungie splitting from Activision. What do you think? What did you think of that news?
I don't know. I'm not.
I don't know. I mean, Activision.
Look, yeah, I'm here to be honest. All right. With everything going on with Blizzard and Activision, y- you got to assume that there's other negative stuff going on with other companies that are partnering with Activision. So I guess, I'm not surprised that it happened.
So I think this is more of a move from Activision, less of a move from Bungie, actually.
Oh, okay.
So we had talked about the CFOs last episode, one from Blizzard, one from Activision, moving on, one to Netflix, one to Square, I believe. I think this is actually a move from Activision because Bungie was supposed to have a I believe a 4 game contract with Activision for Destiny. And they haven't obviously fulfilled that entire contract. I think they were supposed to release another one in 2019 and then something in 2020 or 2021. I can't recall. But Destiny has not done very well. It's kind of like the black sheep for the Activision IPs, basically. So I think Activision, because they're trying to cut costs, actually decided to cancel the contract because it costs too much money for them to continue to publish Destiny, and it doesn't do anything for them. It's just, it has bad press around it. It's gotten so much flack, especially with the new stuff that's come out. What was it, Destiny 2, I guess? There's just so much negativity around it at this point that I feel like Activision cut it loose to save themselves the hassle and the heartache from it.
I mean, Destiny was such a good game. I loved the first one. Now, I didn't start playing it at the beginning. I didn't have an Xbox One at that point, but I bought an Xbox One just for that game. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to play it so bad. And whenever I did, I loved it. I played the heck out of that game. It was good. It was fun. It was good story, good adventure. The raids were fun. And so whenever Destiny 2 came out, I bought it day one. I was so excited for it. And it flopped. It did. A lot of things about the game that you loved, they changed. One of the things that really irritated me was the different colors that you can get for your armor before shaders. That's what they're called. The different shaders you could get for your armor to change the color used to not be consumed. And then in Destiny 2, they made them be consumed per piece of armor. So you'd have to use one on your gloves, and you would have to find another one to use on your helmet, and then
Or
your
buy them
chest.
through the
Or
microtransaction shop.
buy them. Exactly. Microtransactions became really big in Destiny 2, and so that's frustrating as well. But I mean, it wasn't necessarily pay to win, but it was still irritating that there was things that you had before, just a couple years ago, that you just got from playing the game that were now gated behind your wallet.
I think anything that Activision touches is a travesty. Honestly, I think they're the plague of the gaming industry, along with EA right now. So anything that Activision touches, I feel like it goes straight to hell. So Destiny, I didn't like the first Destiny at all. I thought there were too many repeated assets. I thought all the maps felt way too similar. There just wasn't enough variety for me, and I felt like Activision had a lot to say with that. I think the game was put out before it should have been, probably put out way before it was completed. But then you've got Destiny 2 where the microtransactions became such a huge thing, and they literally put it in everything, and there were so many bad videos about, oh, were they microtransit, they did this for microtransactions, they did that for microtransactions. And I think that was all Activision. That's what I think. I think Activision had a hand in all that. So personally, as a fan of just good games, I am really excited that Bungie has gotten this separation because now I'm actually looking forward to seeing what Destiny looks like without Activision behind them.
That's true. There could be, maybe it will be like the gloves are off kind of deal.
I mean, I'm looking forward. I'm hoping they kind of go back to their roots. And I'm not saying that they make it into like a Halo style game, but I'm hoping that they kind of refocus, get back and really think about what they want Destiny to be and what they want it to be for the players, and listen to the community and stop. And now they don't have to listen to what Activision says, because before it's like, well, the community wants this. Well, you've got a publisher that has the rights to your company and all in this IP and all this kind of stuff. And it's like they want this. They're basically your boss. Like, what are you gonna do? I mean, what are your choices here?
Yeah, it's frustrating. I would definitely be frustrated.
It's definitely very frustrating. So I think it's a blessing for fans and a blessing, all fans of Bungie and all fans of Destiny. I think this is an incredible thing that Activision let it go, or maybe Bungie fought for it and got out from underneath them. I don't know which, but anything that has Activision's name on it, I think is basically mediocre or trash.
Well, I guess if they do ever drop a Destiny 3, because that'll really be the big tell for it, or not.
Yeah, I think that'll say a lot. I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when. I would assume that they're going to take what they've built and take this momentum, because all the videos I've seen, everyone's really excited for what Destiny may have in the future. So I think they take this momentum and they make Destiny 3 and they make it what they wanted it to be without Activision looking over their shoulder, and maybe it ends up being exactly what everybody wanted it to be in the first place.
It'd be nice. I would love to go back to a Destiny that I love.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it ends up being like the first one that a lot of people enjoy, but fixing a lot of the concerns that other people had that made it really unappealing, like the repeating the same mission on the same world and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's what did it for me. To play 4 different missions but end up in the same map, basically, I'm like, why? Why am I still here? You got to be kidding me right now.
And yet you'll play Diablo 3 until you pass out at your computer.
Well, that is not true, okay? Because I did not play last season, but yes, I mean, that's the thing that I thought I would love about Destiny, is I knew it was grindy loot hunting, and I like those kind of games, but it just did not do it. Did not do it for me.
Hey, that's fair. Not all games can hit all marks.
I call bullshit on that. All games should hit all marks all the time. Let's just
Every
be
game
unrealistic.
Needs to be the perfect game for me.
Basically, like, if it's not for me, then it's not for anybody. It needs to be taken off the shelf. All right, so the 2 topics that you had kind of brought up, the first one, I guess, was early access with games, correct?
Yep, that was one. I brought this one up because it seemed like in the first episode that you maybe had some strong feelings toward it, which I'd said earlier to you before we started. Maybe I misinterpreted that, but it came off as strong feelings.
I don't know. Maybe I just come on a little hard sometimes. My feelings are mixed. Okay, when you put it that way. So my feelings are mixed with early access. I really don't know. I kind of love it. I kind of hate it. The biggest issue I have with early access for me personally is that when a game is in early access and I end up buying it, I play it, and even if I love it, I almost never go back to it when it comes out of early access. I play it a lot when it's in early access. I love it. And then 6 months or a year goes by and they're like, oh, it's officially out. And I'm like, that's cool. I've already played it. I don't need to go back.
Even if they had changed things, they had made good quality improvements to it, would you still
They've made changes to Dead Cells, and I haven't gone back to it. I mean, I played it in early access. I know that they've done the full release, and it's very popular, and it's gotten great reviews, and I don't even have it installed on my computer and haven't even thought about it.
You're that old man who's like, back in my day, that's you with early access.
I don't even think that's the case. I just feel like I played it to the point where I burned myself out on it, and I don't know. I don't know that I want to go back and play it. I mean, the other problem I'm having, at least at this stage of my life, is that I just don't feel the same motivation to play games that I used to.
I get that. I mean, I'd say you go through spurts now.
I definitely go through spurts where there's certain games I really want to play or certain things I really want to do, and I do it, and then it peters out for me, and I'm like, screw it. I don't want to play anything.
Yeah, like you played this shit out of Warframe. for a
Yeah, I
while.
did that. Yeah. Well, so I did that until I missed my streak. So that had a everyday streak type of thing, like when you log in, oh, your 40-day streak, that kind of thing.
Mm.
And I think when I hit day 87, and then Liz and I went and did something, and I forgot to log in that night entirely, and I missed it. That did it for me. I'm like, well, that's 89 days done. I have no reason to log in.
uh,
Like I am done. And that's not to say I don't love the game. I do. It's very grindy, and you're grinding just for frames, and it's a cool concept. I really like it, and the fact that it has so much amazing content and it's free to play, really, it scratched a big itch for me at the time. But when I lost that, I just lost all motivation. I uninstalled it, and I'm not looking back.
fair enough. Fair enough.
They even released a new expansion, and I was just like, "That's cool." It looked cool when I was playing it. I was excited for it. Until now, I'm not.
And I'm over it.
So I've did the same thing so when Epic released their game store, they came out with the Hades game, which is still in early access, and I bought it immediately, and I played the hell out of that thing because it's Hades, you know. Haha. I played it so much on my vacation, and now that I've gotten back from vacation, I haven't played it at all. I haven't touched it. I did install it today though, so there's that.
Ooh.
Yeah, because they're having an
Ooh.
update in 3 days, first major update, and I'm kind of curious.
Well, it's a big deal for you. Congratulations.
It is a big deal. So, I mean, my opinion's not that I don't hate early access. I do think there are a lot of developers that take advantage and they do this whole, hey, early access, give us your money. And then you give them the money and they're like, just kidding. We're not going to finish this game. Welcome to development hell. And they either never do anything with it, like Ark is a good example, where it was basically became trash and they stopped developing on it and then it released on all the other platforms, but it's basically still in early access now, which is terrible. I never played it, but it still looks pretty bad.
On DayZ, H1Z1, all that stuff as well.
Well, PUBG too. I mean, it was in early access for a long time, and it was pretty painful in early access, and then it finally came out. And I mean, granted, they did develop it, but I think we talked about this on episode 1, where would it be as good as it is now if it wasn't for the pressure of Fortnite?
I don't think it would be.
I don't think it would be either. I think Bluehole would have been like, oh, we got the money. We don't need to worry about it too much. You want to do the hopping over stuff, or was it jumping through windows? It's like, that can come out in 2 years. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. I mean, I have zero issue with early access games. If it's advertised as early access, and I've, in my opinion, an early access tag is like a buyer beware tag.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And a big part of it is the publisher. I mean, if the publisher has a good record, if it's a well-known, development company or publisher, and they have a really good record of making good games and doing this early access, but then finish it type of thing, then I'll buy it. If it's a game I'm interested in, I'm not going to hesitate. If it's an indie game, I'm a little bit like, I don't know much about them. This might be terrible. And
Yeah.
then if it's a major publication, something that's a conglomerate or something like that in the development world, I'm like, you're trying to get money from me. That's all that is. I'm not going to do this.
Yeah. I mean, it can be pretty crappy for some developers out there who say, oh, it's an early access. Like, go ahead, start buying it. We're going to keep developing. And then don't. It's a completely different story if that's the intention, is to just put it out there, say, oh, early access just to get sales and drop it. That's a completely different story. You're scum. Don't do that. Stop making games. But, like, it happens, I guess, is my outlook on it. Like, sometimes, in my opinion, you can release a game in early access. People could have every intention of continuing development with it, yada, yada, but maybe it ends up not going in the direction they wanted. And so it starts becoming less and less of the passion project that it was for them. It starts becoming more of a chore, and eventually they just don't want to do it anymore. I can't really fault people for that if that happens to some of them, in my opinion.
Yeah. Or if they just outright lose the funding for it, then it's over, that type of thing. It's just weird, the trend over the past couple of years. I mean, when you go to Steam now and you look under, games, there's an early access section now because there's just so much early access content out there that you could be buying, and you never know which one's going to do well and which one isn't. And a big part of it too is price point. I mean, what are you going to price it at? Or you better not charge me $50 for early access. Like, you're going to have a hard time getting money from
Hell
me
no.
for $50.
No way. I had a hard time dropping the 30 on pub for early access.
Yeah, I think 15 to $20 is fair. I mean, I got Slay the Spire probably like 6 months ago for $10 or something like that, and it's a really cool card game.
Yeah, Fanny played that one for quite a while. He really enjoyed it. I haven't picked it up myself, but I've heard good things.
If you like card games, I think it's a lot of fun. It's a roguelike card game, basically. I really enjoyed it. I've played it quite a bit. It's one of those games when you want to play something, you don't really know what, you're just kind of killing some time. Boom, you throw that up on there.
See, I'll play a lot of Hearthstone. I love me some Hearthstone. I always end up going back to it because it's just easy.
The problem with Hearthstone for me, I played it when it first came out. I really, really enjoyed it, and it's not that type of card game, the Slay the Spire. It's not a competitive against another person type of card game. It's like a dungeon crawler card game type of thing. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. Hearthstone, I played it when it first came out, and now there's been so many expansions and stuff. I don't even know where to, like, even when it first came out, I was like, God, I need to learn all these cards and what's going on. Now I would just be so overwhelmed. I would never even want to bother.
See, in my opinion, it's easy to get into. It's easy to get into, hard to excel at. Because the hard to excel at comes into play if you're one of those people who sees that there's a ranked mode and you're like, ooh, I want to climb that ladder. Because the ladder is very much so meta decks, and meta decks can be expensive. There is like an in-game currency that you can use to craft cards called dust, but it's hard to gather, especially if you're purely free to play.
Yeah.
I very rarely buy packs. The only time I will really buy is if they have some cool deal on them. Like here's 30 packs for $10. Something ridiculous. Like, yeah, that's a good deal. I will have no remorse about buying this, but I never buy at the normal everyday price.
Yeah. When I was into it, I used to watch Criparian. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yep,
Crip,
he's still
but
around.
I used to watch it. Yeah, he still does it. I used to watch him on Twitch and YouTube all the time. I would watch every single video he put out pretty much every single day for months and months at a time because I really like that he theory crafts, and I think he's brilliant. So I think that's more appealing to me than actually playing it. But I was thinking about other early access games, and I realized that there's one that came out this past year that I paid for immediately, no hesitation. Can you guess what that might be?
Is it it starts with so is it the Celeste one? Is it that one?
No, I've not played Celeste. I've actually seen really good things about it, but I've not
I've heard
played
great
that.
things, but I've heard it's very difficult.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. The art style doesn't really appeal to me so much. I don't really care for 2D platformers personally. That's why I've never really played Meat Boy or anything like that, but it looks kind of cool. But no, it is definitely not that. It is PC building simulator.
Oh my Christ.
I bought that immediately.
I am just so not surprised right now.
I was so thrilled that that game came out. I bought it immediately, and I was like, "Yeah, I can build the rig I have in this simulated environment,
I can have
and it's
my
got a story
computer
mode.
in my computer.
I can plan out future computers in a simulator and
Oh Lord.
benchmark it." I'm like, "Yeah, this is dope." As early access computers or as early access games
Oh
go, though,
Lord.
for me, I played like 40 hours of it, and then I've never touched it since.
That's hilarious. I'm glad that you bought that. Was it
I'm
fun?
glad I bought that. It was so much fun. Except for when I got most of the way through the story and I hit a glitch that I couldn't get through. But beyond that, it was so much fun. I loved it. I played it probably for 4 or 5 days, just nonstop.
What exactly is the story mode? Do you work in a PC shop?
Yeah, you have your own PC shop and orders come in, and you have a set day of, like, you have 2 days to do this. This person wants to upgrade their video card, and it wasn't. And at the time, I don't know if they fixed this now, but at the time, it was kind of like, oh, they need 6 gigs of RAM. They need to be upgraded from this gigs, or they need a part replaced or something like that. And you could take really crappy parts out of other people's computer and put it into other people as a upgrade, and it would be like, yeah, that's fine, that works.
Hmm.
So you could do very unethical things that you should not be doing in a PC repair shop. And I remember seeing patches where they're like, yeah, you can't do this anymore.
Hmm.
So they would set, but they had all kinds of NZXT pieces and Corsair parts and stuff like that. Like the parts list was really, really good. and I think they're constantly updating it. I think they didn't have liquid coolers when
I
I
was
had gotten it.
gonna
I think they
ask.
were working on it, but yeah, they didn't quite have that done yet.
I mean, it sounds cool and interesting, but I don't know if I would ever be like, I can't wait to get home and play PC building simulator.
I couldn't wait to get home. I mean,
I know
I
you
struggle
could.
with that because you're like, I can't wait to get home, and I was like, I mean, realistically, I didn't leave the house, so I
You
was home the whole
work at home.
time.
Oh man,
I
jeez, that's
can't wait
great.
to not be at work and still sit in the same position and play this PC, simulator game. It's going to be amazing.
That's funny. I'm so glad that you bought that game. I'm just
So the one game that I think we talked about this game actually before we bought Divinity: The Original Sin, because we were looking for games to play together. We talked about The Forest, didn't we?
yeah, we did, and then I also talked about getting it with another friend too, but we ended up just playing Borderlands.
Oh, you and the other friend ended up playing Borderlands?
Yeah, because I love Borderlands.
Yes, as we've established. So I'm looking at The Forest, and it's been early access for a very long time. I think it's finally out of. Is it out of early access now? I can't recall.
Oh, let's hit a little Google. Is
I
the
was gonna say I'm
forest?
looking, and it looks like it might be out of early access. It's got nearly 100,000 reviews, and it's very positive. So I'm throwing this out there
Yeah.
since my computer's now hooked up to my desk with my monitors and I'm not hooked up to the TV. It's a little bit easier to play games. So, maybe I'm kind of on board for giving this a go.
All right, so I'm just going to throw two things out there. Thing one is that yes, it is officially out of early access. Thing two is I swear to God, Chris, do not get my hopes up.
What do you mean? Like download it, we play it for today, and then next, tomorrow you're like, hey, do you want to play The Force? I'm like, nah, I never want to play it again. I'm over it.
Yeah, yeah, because that's you.
Oh, now, hold on a second. I go through spurts, sir. You said so yourself. Okay,
Yeah,
don't
and
just
this
lump
spurt
me
is
into
going to
this
be a
like
whole
that's just
6
you.
hours.
I mean, I can't. I don't know 100% what it could or could not be. I'm not saying let's buy it right now, but I'm saying it looks better than it did way back then.
Just take this out of the cart.
Well, I'm gonna add it to my cart.
Now you're sending me mixed signals here.
I mean, I'm certainly thinking about it. Let me sit on it for half an hour or so,
You
and
think
then
about it. Yeah, you
yeah, let
watch
me
some
let me think about
videos.
it.
Let me know, because if I drop $20 on this game and then you don't play it with me,
It's got to be better than Divinity: Original Sin for us, right? It's got to be better than that one. And
that's a
for
low
anyone out
bar.
there that loves it, like if you love Divinity: Original Sin, good for you. It's your kind of game. It was not for us. Like I think we played a half an hour. We both ended up dying because we just got so bored of it. I think is probably the word I want to use. And then we are like, okay, cool. Let's uninstall this and find something else to play.
Yeah, let's never touch this again.
Yeah, because I think that was a moment where I wasn't playing PUBG or League, and that's what you and everyone else was playing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I don't know. We still want to play games together, but I'm not playing either of those.
Yeah, well, part of me feels like maybe we would have enjoyed Divinity if we knew what we were getting into, because I think we thought it was going to be more hack and slashy, adventure-y, and less. I don't even know what less. I
Story
don't know,
heavy.
but yeah,
So story heavy. Yeah, I don't think we had the patience is the issue. We started it
definitely
up
did not.
expecting to really get propelled and get into this, and it was so slow and sluggish. And I was just like, I'm not gonna sit here for this.
We got to that first main town, and I ran out some side of the town, got stuck in some forest, and kept dying over and over again for like 20 minutes, and was like, "Yeah, I'm done."
Yeah, we ended up finding some high level characters that we weren't supposed to be messing with and like fighting them every time. Like, nah, we could take them. We got this. We could do it. And the game's like, no, you really can't. You need to stop. Okay, guys, stop. Don't come back here.
That's on us, to be fair.
Kind of.
We can't
But
blame the game.
the game design limited my potential, is how I saw it. You don't know my potential game. Maybe I could have taken them. Give me the opportunity to show myself.
Yeah, make this more mechanically intense. Let's go.
I would have been okay with that if it was a little bit more mechanical. What am I saying? I'm not going to play it again. What does it matter if it is or not?
Which, all this does is just bring me back to give me Dark Alliance, Baldur's Gate,
Oh
or
my gosh.
or Champions of Norath, Return to Arms. Give me it on PC. Remaster, straight port. I don't care. Just give it to me. Because you can buy that one, you can play it with me, and if you quit, whatever. I'll play that game on my own.
Also, before we jump to the last topic here, I appreciate you so much for sending me that link to Humble Bundle for the Final Fantasy X and X-2.
Mm-hmm.
However, I
Oh, no.
I almost got so upset. So since you sent me that link, I think that was Monday of this week. Today's Saturday, so I think it was Monday or Tuesday of this week you sent it to me, and it was like, oh, you've got 3 days to decide if you want to spend $15 for this, for this remaster. And I'm like, oh, I love this game. I already got it on PS3, I think, and I'm like, oh, why not have it on computer? Hell yeah, I'd play it. So I laid in bed for like 2 nights thinking about it. Like, Chris, you don't need this. You've played through it. You've gotten all the content. You've finished the Sphere Grid. You haven't done 10-2. So part of me is like, I mean, you could do that one. You could kind of play that game and actually finish it and have something to say about it. But then part of me is like, it's $15. You don't need to spend $15. That's better spent somewhere else, right? And so I've been thinking about it all week long, looking at it again today. And I open up my Steam, just kind of browsing through my games. I already own both of them. So I'm sitting there like, oh, I've spent the whole week thinking about spending $15 for a game I already have. It was going to be on Steam anyway. So I'm like, oh my, they would have sent me like codes for it. And I would have been like, oh shit.
Look, dude, I haven't bought it yet, and I'm highly considering it. All I'm saying is, we could same time it.
I was going to say the same thing. So yes, because remember last episode we talked about, if you haven't played the remaster, you should, because there's content that you never got to experience. Plus the remaster is gorgeous. It's really good. So I would definitely, if you're on the fence about it, you should do it, and then we can definitely start it at the exact. I mean, we will count it down. Like, all right, hit start in 3, 2, 1, and then we only play it together, but separately, and it's cool.
Ciao.
I think that would be cool. Or we could race. We could be like, who can get to the end of the game the fastest?
All right. So what would happen there would be I would lose the little social life that I have because I'm very competitive. My fiance would get upset with me because I would spend less time with her because I have to win. So you know what? I don't want to ruin my life.
That's fair. Okay, that's a valid point. I was just going to download a save file off of Reddit and load it up like to the last boss and just finish it within like 20 minutes. But that's, yeah.
Oh, I'd have known something was up. All right.
Be like, and I won.
But if we were doing straight from beginning to straight to end, I honestly think that I would win. And here's why. I don't think you'll disagree with this. You enjoy side content a lot more than I do.
So yeah, I think it would. You would be near the end of the game and be like, "So where are you at, Chris?" I'm like, "I'm dodging lightning bolts in the thunder plains. I gotta get that item." Or I'm racing chocobos. I gotta beat that time. Gotta get that item.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that's what would happen. You'd be finishing the game up, and I'd still be playing Blitzball. I'm like, I'm trying to get all the best people in Blitzball. Gotta get that. Gotta get that last thing for Walker. I'm just over here playing Blitzball for 30 hours.
Oh, man. But it's fun. If they'd have released like just a well-polished Blitzball standalone game, I'd probably play it, honestly.
Yeah, they did. It's called Final Fantasy X Remastered.
Oh, right. I went from such a high point, such disappointment in like half a second.
I got you all pumped and then brought it back down.
I didn't even get to finish my like excited gasp.
That's funny. No, if you do play it, if you do decide to buy it, though, let me know and we'll same time it, and I'll think about the forest. But for now, let's move on to let's get back on topic here. Let's move on to our last topic for today.
Cool. Last topic. People suing Fortnite over stealing their dance moves.
Now, people as in like popular celebrities, or is this a class action lawsuit?
This is specific people. So, like the guy who plays Carlton, because they have his dance in there, he's suing. The guy who, what's his name, who he made the Millie Rock uh, dance move, which is just the artist. Here we go, rap artist 2 Millie for his dance move, the Millie Rock. And then the kid who made up the floss dance, things like that. Also, now did you like Scrubs, the TV show?
I cannot stand that show personally.
Okay.
I have a very strong opinion of that
I
show.
was about to say strong opinion. I like that show personally.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we've actually talked about it before in the past.
well, the guy who plays Turk, he has a dance that he does, and they copied it exactly move for move into the game as an emote.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
have
like the
seen that one.
starting dance move as well. No, I don't think he's doing anything about it, but he like tweeted about it, saying, like, oh, it's really cool. Maybe I should talk to a lawyer. Like a little passive aggressive.
Right.
Um, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Is it considered copyright just because you dance, like you presumably make up a dance move? Like we don't have any evidence that they're the first ones in history to do these dance moves, right? I mean, it just happens to be that they're popular and it's on, TV or video or something of that. How do we know that some infant didn't come up with this dance?
Yeah, like they're calling it like intellectual property. And I guess one of my stances on it is if it's something like a single simple move, in my opinion, no grounds. Like especially the Millie Rock thing. Like it anyone could have just did that one day in the club, and what is he gonna do? Sue them because he didn't give him credit? No, like that one I think is stupid. I can kind of understand a little bit of me can get with the floss kid because like everything that he is built around is around that dance. Like he is the one that supposedly, I'm going to do some air quotes here, invented it. Like I had never seen anything like that before. Um, and they put it into the game, and like he was on TV just for doing this dance. Katy Perry had him come out in one of her live performances just to do that dance. Like that's who he is. I can understand him getting his panties in a bunch over it. Him, I can get. Carlton, I can maybe get Carlton a little bit, but like there's an actual name like to the dance he does. I'm pretty sure like it's a style of dance. So it's called the Carlton dance because it was funny in the Fresh Prince of Bel Air and everyone enjoyed it. And every day he ever shows his face outside, people probably yell at him to do the Carlton dance. But I don't think he has any right to that.
I don't know. So I'm looking at an article right now called "Who Owns a Dance: The Complexities of Copywriting Choreography," and it was back in 2015, so before this whole debacle, obviously. And it's talking about the Copyright Act of 1976, who technically owns choreography for dancing, musical copyright in dance. This is some convoluted stuff, I would imagine. So I don't really know. I would guess that maybe Epic could be in some trouble because they copied it exactly. I mean, they didn't even try to change the interpretation of the dance in many cases, it looks like. They just kind of were like, that's how they do it. This is how we do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if you think of things like quotes, for example, let's say you're writing a paper and you type something up and one of your sentences gets pinged on one of those like plagiarism programs that professors run papers through because someone else said it in one of their papers that they published. Just because they published their paper, all of a sudden like they own that line, and now if you say it, you're plagiarizing them. Like they said that, so there's no way that I on my own could have come up with those words strung together in that sentence. Like I had to have stole it from them. So like do things like that apply to dance moves?
Well, and if you get into the whole intellectual property stuff, like the laws for that are just by itself ridiculous. Like there's so much stuff that can be considered covered by intellectual property. It's kind of dumbfounding to me, honestly, the restrictions that we put on so much stuff. So, I mean, is there any news as to what's going to happen? Is there what have you heard?
Last I've heard is that they're suing. I don't know anything about is it going to court? Has it? Will it? Is Fortnite just gonna you know pay out a lump sum and be like, yeah, well, whatever, our bad, Or I don't know, but I don't know. Is it going to affect them in the future? Like any future dances that they try to put in? Are they going to have to hire a guy to scour the web to see if anyone uploaded a video of them doing some stupid dance? And then they have to, message them and be like, hey, here's a contract. You get, a royalty for each emote we sell if you let us do it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm looking at Lifehacker because they talk about it a little bit, and it says that Epic has told multiple outlets that they don't intend to comment publicly on it. So they may try to claim the dances are not distinctive enough to be worthy of copyright protection, and it is possible to copyright choreography, but the U.S. Copyright Office specifically states that commonplace movement and gestures cannot be copyrighted.
So like, at what
That
point
includes
does it cross the
specific
line?
short dances like the YMCA. So the YMCA cannot be copyrighted.
See, out of anything, that's where I could see like
It says it's because it's just people making shapes with their arms, according to legal experts who spoke to Variety. Epic may also claim that the dances in Fortnite are part of a larger procedure that goes beyond doing the dance. So yeah, I would see if anything could be copywritten, when it comes to dancing, YMCA would make sense to me.
yeah.
That has to be. Is that a loophole because you're making crazy shapes with your arms? But it's a very specific short dance that cannot be copyrighted. All these are very specific and short, aren't they? Are they not?
Yeah, most of them are. Like the swipe it one is literally just like holding your arm at a 90-degree angle with your hand pointing up and like swiping across your body and then doing it the other way. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's yours, man. You did that.
Well, and
You
if
made
that's
it.
the case, so if they could sue for stuff like this, then I mean, technically, couldn't whoever came up with like dabbing go out and literally sue the pants off everybody that dabs? Like you're just on the street, like you're getting sued. Like you're like Oprah giving out cars, but it's lawsuits. Like you just got a briefcase full of lawsuits. You're just handing them out like candy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I think it's very stupid. Now, if someone was to come up with a choreography and I guess like we'd have to find some place where it's either X amount of moves and what defines a move or it is it takes X amount of time,
Right.
you
So
know.
actually, the article I was talking about, the 2015 one, the very first thing they talk about is, well, first you have to define choreography. What is considered choreography, therefore can be protected by copyright.
Hmm.
I mean, you have to make that distinction before you can obviously go into any of this other kind of stuff, right? So I don't know. It seems a little weird. It almost feels like if it's a short, specific dance can't be done, can't be copywritten, covered by copyright laws, then it just kind of feels like people want a piece of the Fortnite pie that's out there because it's so wildly successful.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, like I said, I can still get not necessarily get behind as in like be a full supporter, but I guess I don't blame like the floss kid going for it.
I don't even know who the Floss Kid is. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Supposedly he's the one that made it up. He's the one that's credited for making it up.
Backpack Kid, team behind flossing dance, sues Fortnite. Yeah, I don't know. This is where I struggle very very much. Like I said in the beginning, how do we know that he made it up? I don't understand. Like I have no way to know for sure that he made it up and someone else didn't just do it and he's just copying somebody else.
Yeah, I agree.
For all I know, he's going to sue Fortnite, and if it ends up that he gets money, then we'll have some other kid step up and be like, "Nah, I taught him,
Yeah,
in second grade how to do the floss dance. Now I'm suing him."
yeah. We came up with it together. Where's my half? Yeah.
We seem very sue happy I don't know how it is in other countries if they're as sue happy as we are, but it just feels like we're very sue happy. We love to sue at the drop of a hat. Like, don't you do that? I'll sue you. I will do it right now.
Yeah. Now, I guess there is one where Will Smith did like kind of his own Running Man kind of deal on the Fresh Prince. It's a scene where Jazz is like playing the drums and he's dancing, and it's Fresh Prince. You'll love it just because it's Fresh Prince Bel-Air. But the character Junkrat, I think it is Junkrat in Overwatch, does that dance, and like it's not a classic Running Man dance. It is the dance that Will Smith's Running Man did, and so like it. I guess like that's one I would have mixed feeling on. If Will Smith came out and said that he was suing for that as intellectual property, feel like that's another one that I could maybe get behind a little more because.
But is that considered short, specific movements, therefore, not going to be covered, or is that considered choreography? Again, it would need to come down to how do we define what's considered choreography, I guess.
Yeah. Does it come down to?
Because I've seen the floss dance, and that's nothing. Like that's a very short thing that people do. I'm going to call it a thing because it looks like nonsense to me. But that's a very short dance.
Mm-hmm.
So at least based on what I read off of Lifehacker, I don't see why that would be covered under copyright.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the.
Although it's weird to be in 2019 and you're talking to people about flossing, and now there could be a misunderstanding as to what the hell you're talking about. Like, are we talking about teeth? Are we talking about dancing? What are we talking about?
Let me see here. I floss while I floss. That covers all the bases.
That sounds dangerous. I don't know about that. I don't know that anyone should be doing that.
I have to use a very long piece of floss.
Understandably so.
All right, so I was incorrect. I looked up a side-by-side comparison of Will Smith's Running Man in Fresh Prince compared to Junkrat, and there's points where it's like spot on, but then they mix it up, and then it goes back to spot on, and then they mix it up. So hey, I mean.
So in that case, yeah, Will Smith isn't going to be suing anybody anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, where does the fair use stuff come into play?
Yeah, I don't even know, and because it's covered for music and dance, I don't know where fair use, like how fair use is even played into that whole thing. Our next guest needs to be a lawyer that has an understanding of this stuff, and then we can figure it out.
Yeah. I'll put some feelers out there, see if I can get one.
You get on Reddit and be like, we need a lawyer for our podcast. We want to talk about Fortnite.
Well, I guess there's actually like a specific lawyer that most of these people are going through for this. And he's probably loving it.
Yeah, let's call that person, get him on. That'd be cool. All right. Any other thoughts on the Fortnite before we wrap up this episode?
Stop suing people for stupid shit. Go out there, make your art, have fun with it. If you jiggle your body around while you're doing it, is that really a part of it? I don't think so. But more power to you.
If you jiggle your body around. Oh no. All right. So I think that does it for this episode. Appreciate everybody who's followed with us so far for the first two, and continue to listen. Pat, do your thing, improv us out, take us out of this one.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. You don't watch it, it's a podcast. Thanks for listening to Pixel Perfect Gaming. He's Chris. I'm Pat. We love cats. Have a great night.